The scream ripped through the thin walls of my Brooklyn walk-up like a chainsaw through flesh. Raw. Guttural. The kind that doesn't come from pain but from something deeper, like your soul's being yanked out through your throat. I bolted upright in bed, heart slamming against my ribs, convinced it was a murder in progress, only to realize it was him, Ryan, the wild-eyed guitarist from 4B, belting out lyrics that twisted love into a weapon. "Fuck you, Joseph," he roared again, his voice cracking like thunder, and in that moment, as the echo died into the hum of the city outside, I knew my quiet life was about to shatter. I'd moved to New York 3 months earlier, chasing the ghost of a corporate dream that already felt like a noose, 32 years old, fresh off a divorce from a woman whose idea of passion was color-coded spreadsheets. Sarah had left me for a guy who actually felt things, whatever that meant, and I'd fled to this crumbling brownstone in Bushwick, where the rent was cheap and the walls whispered secrets. My days blurred into audits at a midtown firm, nights into takeout and true crime podcasts, a safe routine for a guy who'd always played it straight, literally. Gay? Sure. In theory. After a fumbling college hookup I'd buried under layers of denial. But admitting it, that was a risk I wasn't wired for. Stability was my god. Chaos, my devil. Until Ryan. God, Ryan. He exploded into my existence like a Molotov cocktail through a stained glass window. Our first encounter was in the stairwell, me hauling grocery bags up for flights, him descending like a storm cloud, guitar slung over his shoulder, cigarette dangling from lips that looked sculpted for sin. He was 28, all lean muscle and inked skin peeking from a threadbare Henley, his dark hair a mess that screamed, "I woke up like this, and it's your problem." His eyes, hazel flecked with gold, locked on mine for a beat too long, and I swear the air thickened, charged like the moment before lightning. "Watch it. Suit," he muttered, brushing past, his shoulder grazing mine just enough to send a jolt straight to my groin. I mumbled an apology, face burning, and caught a whiff of him. Smoke, patchouli, and something feral, like rain-soaked earth. That night, his music started, bluesy riffs laced with punk snarl, bleeding through the vents until 2 a.m. I pounded on the wall once, twice, but it only amped him up, his voice crooning, "Break me open, baby, see what bleeds." By week 2, I was lying awake, not in anger, but in hunger, imagining those fingers calloused, sure, strumming something far more intimate. We collided properly at the laundromat in the basement, a fluorescent hellhole reeking of detergent and despair. I was folding my starched shirts, pretending not to notice him loading quarters into a machine, his jeans slung low enough to reveal the dimples above his ass. He caught me staring, smirked, and said, "You always this obvious? Or is it the spin cycle?" My mouth went dry. "What?" He laughed, low and throaty, stepping closer. "The way you're eye-fucking my laundry. It's cute. Creepy, but cute." Heat flooded my cheeks, but I held his gaze. Maybe it's the owner I can't stop looking at. Bold? Reckless? Both. His smirk faltered into something real, vulnerable. "Ryan," he said, extending a hand scarred from strings and fights. "Alex," I replied, shaking it, our palms lingering like a promise. From there, it unraveled fast. Late-night knocks turning into shared beers on the fire escape, his stories spilling out like bourbon. Born in a Rust Belt Ohio town where faggot was both slur and survival tactic, He clawed his way to the city on raw talent and rage. His band, the Fractured Saints, gigged in dive bars, chasing a record deal that dangled like fool's gold. But beneath the bravado, cracks showed. Nights he'd show up at my door, eyes red-rimmed, nursing bruises from rowdy crowds that sounded suspiciously like his ex, Joseph. "He's poison," Ryan would say, lighting another smoke, but the way his voice softened on the name betrayed him. Joseph, Golden Boy producer, all Ivy League polish and predatory charm, who'd discovered Ryan at 19, molded him into a starlet, then chained him with promises and fists. I fell hard, stupidly, irrevocably. Our first kiss happened after a Saints show in a Williamsburg hole-in-the-wall. The crowd a sweaty sea of motioning bodies. Ryan on stage like a god sweat-slicked, shirtless, guitar wailing a lament for lost boys. Backstage, amid the haze of weed and adrenaline, he grabbed my collar, pulled me into a storage closet that smelled of stale beer. "You came," he breathed, lips crashing into mine, tasting of salt and whiskey. It was messy, desperate, teeth clashing, hands fumbling under shirts, my back against splintered wood as he ground against me, whispering, "Don't let me fuck this up." I didn't. That night, in my bed, he mapped me with those musicians' hands, slow and reverent, drawing out moans I'd never known I could make. "You're safe here," I murmured into his neck, and he stilled, like I'd handed him a grenade with the pin pulled. But safety was a lie we both told ourselves. Joseph lurked like a shadow, texting Ryan at odd hours. "Miss you, babe. Come home." And Ryan would delete them, but I'd see the flinch, the way his fingers tightened on his phone. My own demons whispered too. The firm was pressuring for a promotion that meant longer hours, less Ryan. My family back in Ohio, oblivious straights who'd disown me if they knew. Yet, in those stolen hours, we built something fragile, beautiful, a love laced with laughter and lust. Him teaching me chords on his beat-up Stratocaster, me cooking pasta that he'd devour with exaggerated moans, calling me Chef Heartbreaker. The first real fracture came in October, leaves turning the East River blood red, when Joseph showed up unannounced. I came home from work to find Ryan on my couch, pale as milk, Joseph's arm slung possessively around him. Joseph was everything Ryan wasn't. Tailored blazer, blonde hair slicked like a Kennedy, smile sharp as a switchblade. "Alex, right? Ryan's told me all about you." His handshake was firm, eyes appraising me like livestock. Ryan wouldn't meet my gaze, mumbling, "He's in town for a meeting." Just crashing. I forced a nod, throat tight, and retreated to the kitchen, eavesdropping as Joseph's voice turned syrupy coercive. "That demo you sent is gold. But you need me to polish it." We were magic together. Ryan's reply was a whisper, "Not anymore." He stayed away for 2 days after that. Radio silence that clawed at my gut. When he finally appeared, disheveled and reeking of gin, it was with apologies tumbling out like loose change. He got in my head. "Alex. Promised the deal. Said you'd never get it. The life. The grind." I pulled him close, tasting regret on his tongue. But doubt seeded itself, a thorn in our Eden. We patched it with urgency, bodies entwining in the shower, steam fogging the mirror as he begged. "Love me harder. Make me forget." I did, until the water ran cold. Winter bit down hard, Snow blanketing Brooklyn in a hush that amplified every creak, every cry. Ryan's gigs multiplied, his music evolving darker, laced with queer anthems that had crowds chanting his name. One night, after a sold-out set at Baby's All Right, he pulled me on stage for an impromptu duet, our voices harmonizing on a cover of Wicked Game, the spotlight hot on our skin, his hand in mine electric. The kiss that followed, public, unapologetic, drew whoops and whistles, but also Joseph's glare from the bar, nursing a scotch like venom. The betrayal hit like a freight train the week before Christmas. I'd planned a surprise, tickets to a cabin upstate, a weekend of nothing but us. No phones, no ghosts. But when I got home early, key turning in the lock, I heard it, the low murmur of voices, then a gasp that twisted my heart. Peering through the cracked door, I saw them, Ryan backed against the wall, Joseph's mouth on his neck, hands roaming like he owned the territory. "You know you missed this," Joseph purred. And Ryan didn't push him away. Not at first. His eyes were closed, body arching, a moan escaping that should have been mine. I stumbled back, while rising, the world tilting. Betrayal? It was a gut punch. Yes. But worse, the confirmation of my fears. I was the interlude, the safe harbor, while Joseph was the storm Ryan craved. I fled to the roof, wind whipping tears from my eyes, staring at the glittering skyline that suddenly felt like a lie. Hours later, Ryan found me there, Joseph's scent still clinging like accusation. "Alex, it wasn't. Save it," I snarled, shoving past him. "You're poison for each other. Go back to him." He grabbed my arm, eyes wild. "No," he cornered me, said he'd tank the band if I didn't. But I stopped it. I swear, lies, all of it, or half-truths that cut deeper. The fight that ensued was biblical, words like shrapnel, accusations flying, my repression, his chaos, my fear, his addiction. "You think love's a spreadsheet?" he yelled, voice breaking. "It's messy. Alex, it's risking everything." I laughed, bitter. "And what have you risked for me?" "Nothing." "You're still his." He recoiled as if slapped, then stormed out, door slamming like a guillotine. Days blurred into a gray fog. Work became a numb autopilot. Sleep, a battlefield of dreams where Ryan's touch ghosted my skin. Joseph's text started then, anonymized at first, then bold, "He's mine." "Back off." I blocked him, but the damage festered. Ryan's music went silent, the hallway echoing with absence. Whispers from neighbors painted a grim picture. Blowout fight at a gig, Ryan trashing his guitar on stage, Joseph dragging him off like a trophy. It climaxed on New Year's Eve, the city a cacophony of horns and heartbreak. I'd sworn off the festivities, holing up with a bottle of bourbon, when the scream came again. Not music, but agony, muffled thuds from 4B. Panic surged. I pounded on his door, yelling his name. Silence, then a groan. The lock was flimsy. I shouldered it open to chaos. Overturned furniture, blood streaking the wall. Ryan crumpled in the corner, Joseph's silhouette looming over him, fist raised. "You fucking faggot," Joseph spat, face twisted in rage. "After everything I did?" Time fractured. I lunged, tackling Joseph to the floor, our bodies a tangle of fury, his polished nails raking my cheek, my knee driving into his gut. "Get off him," I roared, adrenaline erasing fear. Ryan stirred, whispering, "Alex, run," but I couldn't. Joseph bucked, landing a punch that split my lip, but I pinned him, screaming for the cops until sirens wailed distant. Then close. Neighbors spilled into the hall, phones flashing. Joseph snarled curses as cuffs clicked on his wrists. Hauled away spitting venom. "You'll regret this, both of you." In the aftermath, paramedics swarmed. Ryan's face a map of bruises, black eye swelling, lips split, ribs cracked. I held his hand in the ambulance, the wail of sirens underscoring his broken whispers. "I ended it with him months ago." He wouldn't let go. "I'm sorry. For everything." Tears mixed with blood on his cheek. "The kiss?" He forced it. "I was weak, Alex. But you're my risk. The one worth taking." I squeezed his fingers, throat too tight for words, the city lights blurring into streaks as we sped toward Bellevue. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets overhead. Ryan lay propped on pillows, for dripping salvation into his veins, his face a patchwork of gauze and purple blooms. I sat vigil in a plastic chair, knuckles raw from the fight, lip throbbing where Joseph's ring had gashed it. Cops had come and gone, statements taken in hushed tones. Assault, harassment, a restraining order in the works. Joseph, turned out, had a history. Complaints buried under NDAs, a trail of broken boys in his wake. But none of that mattered now, only Ryan, eyes fluttering open to find mine, a ghost of a smile cracking his swollen lips. "Still here?" he rasped, voice like gravel. I nodded, throat constricting. "Where else would I be?" He reached for my hand, tentative, and I took it, calluses rough against my palm, a lifeline. "I thought I'd lost you," he murmured. "That night. When you saw." Shame shadowed his gaze, but I shook my head. "We both fucked up. But we're here now." The words hung, fragile as snowflakes, and in that sterile limbo, something shifted. Not forgiveness, exactly, but a reckoning. Nurses bustled, monitors beeped, but we carved out a pocket of quiet, trading truths like contraband. He confessed it all then. In fits and starts, Joseph had been his first love. A 22-year-old sophomore spotting 15-year-old Ryan busking on Oberlin's quad, promising stardom for submission. "He made me believe I was nothing without him," Ryan said, eyes distant. The hits, the mind games, it was control, dressed as passion. I nodded, recognizing my own chains. The marriage to Sarah, a shield against the ache in my chest when men passed too close. "We hide to survive," I said softly. "But surviving isn't living." His thumb traced my knuckles. "Teach me how to live." Then, discharge came on a brittle January dawn, snow crusting the sidewalks like salt in wounds. I helped him to my apartment, ours now unspoken, his arm slung over my shoulder, steps halting. The place felt haunted, echoes of that night lingering in the scuffed walls, but we reclaimed it inch by inch, me brewing coffee strong as resolve, him strumming soft melodies on a borrowed acoustic, chords weaving apologies into harmony. Laughter crept back, tentative, him mocking my corporate zombie ties, me teasing his bedhead as rock star chic. Nights, we'd tangle under threadbare quilts, bodies healing in tandem, his bruises fading like regrets. My scars, stories we'd tell our kids someday, if we dared dream that far. But Joseph wasn't done. The restraining order arrived via certified mail, a flimsy shield against his arsenal. Whispers started, labels dropping the saints, venues blacklisting Ryan on rumors of instability. Gigs dried up, money evaporating like mist. Ryan spiraled, nights pacing the fire escape, cigarette glow the only light in his eyes. What if he's right, he'd mutter. That I'm broken goods? I'd pull him inside, kiss the doubt from his lips. But it festered, a cancer on our fragile peace. February brought a lifeline, a showcase at the Bowery Ballroom, a last-chance slot scrounged from a sympathetic booker. Ryan threw himself into it, woodshedding riffs until his fingers bled, lyrics pouring out like exorcism, songs of betrayal and rebirth, queer hymns for the wounded. This is for us, he said, inking a tattoo on his forearm. 2 interlocking guitars, mine etched beside his. I watched from the wings during rehearsals, heart swelling at the fire reignited. But dread coiled too. Joseph's shadow loomed, texts slipping past blocks. See you at the show. Make you a star again. The night arrived like a storm front, air electric with possibility. The ballroom pulsed with bodies, hipsters in flannel, diehards in band tees, a sea of faces hungry for raw truth. Backstage, Ryan was a live wire, pacing in ripped jeans and a Saints tee, guitar slung like armor. I straightened his collar, a domestic touch that made him grin. Break a leg. Rockstar. He cupped my face. Kiss fierce. Break the world for me. Then he was gone, striding on stage to thunderous cheers, spotlights carving him in gold. His set was revelation. Opener a blistering cover of Hurt, voice cracking on the bridge, then originals that gutted the room. Shattered Saints, a middle finger to Joseph. Across the hall our story, raw and aching. The crowd surged, singing back, a chorus of the cast out. I stood transfixed, tears pricking, pride a fierce bloom in my chest. Halfway through, as he launched into an acoustic ballad, the doors at the back swung open. Joseph, sleek in a black coat, eyes locked on Ryan like a hawk on prey. My blood iced. He moved through the throng, deliberate, a smirk twisting his lips. Ryan faltered mid-chord, spotting him, but rallied, voice steadying into defiance. Joseph reached the stage's edge, shouting over the music. This is bullshit. Ryan, come down here. We can fix this. The crowd hushed, tension crackling. Ryan's fingers flew faster, lyrics turning venomous. You broke me once, but I'm whole now without your chains. Joseph lunged, grabbing the mic cord, yanking it taut. Chaos erupted, security swarming, but not before Joseph snarled, loud enough for mics to catch. You're nothing. A pretty boy fuck up I'll bury. I didn't think. The risk I'd always shied from ignited, propelling me through the crowd, onto the stage. Get away from him, I bellowed, shoving Joseph hard enough to send him stumbling into the pit. Fists flew again, his wild swing glancing my jaw, mine connecting with his nose in a satisfying crunch. The band vamped, holding the groove as bouncers hauled him off, bloodied and cursing. Ryan's eyes met mine, wide with shock, then something deeper, love, unfiltered. He pulled me into the spotlight, arm around my waist, and finished the set with me beside him, our voices blending on the closer, the crowd roaring approval. Aftermath was a whirlwind. Cops again. Joseph's arrest for violations splashed across indie blogs. Producer assaults ex at queer rock show. The Saints trended. Labels circling like sharks scenting blood. But in the green room, amid champagne toasts, Ryan drew me aside, door clicking shut. "You saved me," he whispered, hands framing my face. "Not just tonight. Everything." I kissed him slow, world narrowing to his taste, his heat. "We save each other. That's the deal." Spring unfurled gentle, cherry blossoms dusting the streets like confetti for our resurrection. Ryan's album deal landed, a gritty debut on an alt label, produced by a noble shit lesbian icon who'd seen too many Josephs. We moved to a loft in Greenpoint, sunlight pouring through floor-to-ceiling windows, my firm days balanced with freelance gigs that let me tour with him. Fights still flared, his wanderlust clashing my need for roots, but we learned the dance. Apologies in song, make-up sex that left us boneless. One evening, as dusk painted the skyline lavender, Ryan knelt by the record player, vinyl spinning our song, his demo for me. "Marry me?" he asked. Ring simple silver, engraved with guitar frets. Laughter bubbled from my chest, tears hot. Hell yes, the wedding was small. Rooftop affair in June. Vows exchanged under string lights. Joseph a fading specter in locked files. Our first dance to his acoustic rendition of At Last. Bodies swaying. Promises sealed in sweat and whispers. Years later, with a Grammy on the mantle and a kid adopted, brown-skinned firecracker named Jamie, Ryan still plays across from me in our home studio, music the thread binding our frayed edges. The risk, it didn't just change my life. It birthed one. In America's beating heart, where love's a revolution, we chose chaos over cages and found grace in the wreckage. But grace isn't tidy. Joseph's trial came that fall, a media circus of Me Too reckonings, his empire crumbling under testimonies from a dozen survivors. Ryan testified, voice steady, scars bared not as weakness but weapon. "He taught me to hate myself," he said to the courtroom, my hand clasped under the table. "But love, real love, it taught me to fight back." Verdict, guilty. 5 years. A small justice in a system that often spares the privileged. We emerged scarred but standing, Ryan channeling the trial into Redemption Road, tracks that topped charts and sparked helplines. Me, I quit the firm entirely, starting a nonprofit for queer artists, safe spaces, no strings. Our life became a tapestry. Tour buses to national parks. Jamie's first guitar lesson on Ryan's knee. Quiet nights where I trace his tattoos, murmuring, "Still my rebel," yet doubt lingers, a quiet undercurrent. On anniversaries, Ryan's eyes go distant, Joseph's ghost in the rearview. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked once, postcoital glow fading. "The risk," I pulled him closer. "Every day. And I'd take it again." Humanistic. They call it flawed. Forgiving. Fiercely alive. In the city that never sleeps, we carved our corner. 2 men against the tide. Proving love's not a fairy tale, but a fight worth every bruise. No, wait, that's not how it ends. I rushed the grace, painted it too rosy, because facing the raw edge still guts me. Let me rewind, peel back the varnish. After the Bowery brawl, euphoria crashed into reality's jagged rocks. Joseph's arrest bought breathing room, but the fallout was a slow bleed. Sponsors pulling from the album, Fans splintering into camps. Team Ryan versus drama queen trolls dissecting our every touch in viral clips. Ryan, ever the phoenix, burned brighter, but I saw the toll. The way he'd jolt awake from nightmares. Joseph's voice echoing in dreams. You're mine. We tried therapy. A queer-affirming shrink in Chelsea who unpacked our baggage like fragile heirlooms. Betrayal's a mirror, she said. It shows your fears. Mine. Abandonment. The boy who'd learned love meant loss when Dad walked out at 12. Ryan's. Unworthiness. Forged in fists and false gods. Sessions unearthed landmines. My passive aggression when gigs pulled him away. His sabotage in picking fights to test my staying power. I'm scared you'll wake up and see the mess, he admitted one rain-lashed afternoon, curled on our thrift store couch. I knelt before him, water dripping from my hair. The mess is us. And I love every smear. Summer simmered with tentative triumphs. The Saints reformed. New drummer, a trans firebrand named Kai who became family. My nonprofit launched with a gala where Ryan performed, proceeds funding residencies for out artists. We road-tripped the coast. Big Sur's cliffs a bomb. Him strumming by campfires. Me sketching logos in the sand. Sex evolved too. From frantic reclaiming to exploratory worship. Him blindfolding me with his bandana. Ice cubes tracing spines. Me binding his wrists with silk ties. Drawing out pleas until he shattered. Safe in surrender. But autumn brought Joseph's counterstrike. A civil suit. Defamation claims twisted from victim to villain. He'll drag us through hell, Ryan said, pacing our loft as lawyers circled. The deposition was a vivisection. Joseph's attorney, a shark in pinstripes, grilling Ryan on every bruise, every yes that lingered too long in their toxic tango. You enjoyed the attention, didn't you? The gifts, the spotlight. Ryan's jaw clenched, but he held. I enjoyed surviving. My turn was worse, painting our love as opportunistic, implying I'd stolen Ryan for clout. I stared down the lens. Voice even, love isn't theft. It's choice. The toll mounted. Ryan's drinking spiked. Gigs missed for migraines. Me snapping at Jamie's imaginary friend during custody visits. We'd started fostering. Testing fatherhood's waters. One night, post another postponement. He snapped. Glass shattering against the wall. Bourbon pooling like accusation. This is your fault. If you hadn't jumped in. I recoiled. Words a slap. My fault? For protecting you. He laughed. Hollow. Protection? It's pity. You see a stray pup. Not a man. The silence after was deafening. Rift widening like a fault line. I left. Crashing at a friend's in Williamsburg. The hallway mocking me. Once our portal to passion. Now a void. Days stretched. Texts unanswered. Until Jamie's caseworker called. A home visit. Stability required. Desperation bridged the gap. We met at a neutral diner. Fluorescent hum underscoring awkward small talk. I miss you, he said finally, eyes downcast. But I can't if we're poison. I reached across, fingers lacing. Then let's detox. Together. Forgiveness wasn't fireworks, but embers slow rebuild. Date nights enforced. AA meetings for him. Yoga for my rage. Winter's grip loosened into spring's thaw. Trial concluding in a whimper. Settlement. Gag order. Joseph's retreat to some Hamptons exile. The album dropped to acclaim. Fractured Hearts, a queer touchstone. Tracks like Hallway Hymn, our anthem. Jamie came home permanent. a whirlwind of questions and cuddles, his laughter the glue mending cracks. Ryan dedicated the record to the risk-takers, Grammy nod following. But we skipped the ceremony. Pizza and pajamas with our boy. Truer celebration. Fatherhood reshaped us. Ryan's lullabies acoustic and soft. My bedtime stories laced with be brave morals. Conflicts lingered, tour schedules clashing diaper changes. My nonprofit's growth demanding travel, but we adapted. FaceTime kisses across time zones. Love letters in margins of set lists. Joseph's shadow faded. Occasional tabloid blips irrelevant noise. On our 5th anniversary, rooftop under stars, Ryan pulled a velvet box. Not rings, but matching pendants. Guitar picks etched risk and reward. To the life we built, he toasted. Champagne bubbling. Kissed him deep. City humming approval. Humanistic? Hell yes. Flawed humans fumbling toward light. Proving love's not perfection, but persistence. In America's vast, varied heart, we thrived. Rebels in repose. Forever changed by the man across the hall. Yet endings aren't neat bows. They're ellipses, inviting what's next. As Jamie grows, echoing Ryan's mischief, I wonder what risks await. For now, contentment suffices, his head on my chest. Music our eternal hook. Looking back, that diner reconciliation was our nadir's pivot. But pivots demand momentum, and ours stuttered like a skipped record. Post-trial haze, with Joseph's specter exorcised. We dove into domesticity's deep end. Jamie's adoption finalized in a courthouse ceremony that felt more sacrament than paperwork, his tiny hand in ours as the judge banged the gavel. Family, Ryan whispered, tears carving tracks down his stubbled cheek. I nodded, chest tight, the word foreign yet fitting, like a chord I'd always known but never played. Parenting was pandemonium, 3 a.m. Wake-ups to nightmares, Jamie's, then Ryan's. Playdates where I'd fumble small talk with other dads, hyper-aware of our rainbow flag fluttering from the stoop. Ryan shone, channeling chaos into creativity, bedtime jams turning into viral TikToks, his follower count exploding, drawing collab offers from indie darlings. Me, the nonprofit, Haven Strings, ballooned. Residencies in upstate barns, scholarships for trans composers, a network stitching queer lives across the map. Success bred strain. Me buried in grants, him jetting to South by Southwest. Jamie shuttled between sitters. The first big crack post-Joseph was mundane, almost comical. Ryan's European tour, 6 weeks in Berlin dives and London lofts. Go, I urged, kissing him at JFK. Jamie waving a finger-painted safe travels sign. But absence amplified insecurities. Late-night calls laced with static and suspicion. His voice muffled by club noise. Miss you, babe. Crowds wild. I'd scroll his Insta. Shirtless stage shots drawing thirsty comments. Doubt whispering. Is this the pull? The chaos you crave? Jamie sensed it. Clingy phases where he'd crawl into my lap. Asking, when's Papa home? Did I make him leave? Ryan returned sun-kissed and spent. Reunion sex a frenzy of reunion and resentment. Bodies colliding. Words unspoken. Over breakfast the next week. It erupted, Jamie at preschool. Us at the kitchen island. Coffee steaming like tempers. You partied too hard, I accused, showing a blurry fan pic of him with a lithe backup singer. His eyes flashed. It's work. Alex, not every guy's a threat. But Joseph's ghost is always flirting with danger. He slammed his mug, ceramic shattering. And you're the warden, tallying sins. I need air, not a leash. He stormed to the studio, door locking with finality. I clean shards, hands shaking, regret a bitter chaser. Hours later, he emerged, eyes red, guitar in hand. Wrote this, he said, playing a haunting waltz, lyrics of caged birds and open skies. We're suffocating. Need space to breathe. Heart sinking. I agreed, trial separation. Not divorce, counseling mandatory. Jamie's routine sacred. He crashed at Kai's. Me in the loft's echoing expanse. Nights scrolling old voicemails. His voice a haunt. You're my risk. Separation stretched 2 months. A purgatory of co-parenting texts and supervised playdates. I threw into work. Haven Strings hosting a pride festival that drew thousands. Ryan headlining remotely via video. His set a Olive Branch. Post-show. We met backstage, virtually. Screens bridging the gulf. Proud of you, he said. Pixelated smile softening. Miss our chaos. I swallowed. Miss the man behind it. Reunion sparked at Jamie's 4th birthday. A backyard bash with balloons and bad cake. Ryan arrived early, arms laden with gifts, eyes tentative. As kids rampaged, he pulled me aside, under the old oak. I get it now, the fear. Joseph's echo in me, making me run. I nodded, throat thick. And I projected mine, clipping wings. We kissed then, soft, ceiling packed, weekly check-ins, boundaries drawn in love, not fear. From there, growth accelerated. Ryan scaling back tours for family albums. Me delegating to build work-life bridges. We adopted a rescue mutt, Luna, whose tail wags mirrored our mending. Sex reignited exploratory. Toys from a queer boutique. Role-play nodding to our origins. Me as the uptight neighbor. Him the rebel seducer. Laughter laced it, deepening intimacy. But life's not linear. Curveballs came. Ryan's diagnosis, stage 1 lymphoma, caught early during a routine check for tour insurance. The word cancer landed like Joseph's fist, knocking wind from lungs. Chemo loomed, a gauntlet of nausea and needles. Fuck! He rasped in the oncologist's office, hand crushing mine. Jamie, too young to grasp, drew strong papa pictures. I became pillar, researching trials, juggling carpools and infusions. His bald head gleamed under stage lights for a stripped-down acoustic set, raising funds for queer health orgs, vulnerability his superpower, crowd weeping as he crooned. We're all fractured, but the light seeps through. Remission came spring 29, a scan declaring victory, but it reframed us, mortality's glare sharpening priorities. We honeymooned late, in Tuscany, Jamie with grandparents, vineyards and vows renewed, rings exchanged under olive trees. Today, November 35, as snow dusts the city again, Ryan's platinum album plays low. Jamie, now 10, all limbs and attitude jamming air guitar in the living room. Haven Strings thrives. Chapters in every major city. Joseph's a footnote, paroled, vanished to obscurity. Our love, battle-tested, textured with scars that tell. Risk isn't reckless, it's radical trust. In America's mosaic, where hearts break and mend daily, we stand, rebel and redeemer, forever hooked. Epilogues are tricky beasts, tidy too soon, and they lie, linger too long, and they drag. But ours demands one, because the real drama isn't Joseph's villainy or the brawls, but the quiet revolutions after how love, once a spark across a hall, becomes hearth. 10 years on. The brownstone's a memory, traded for a brownstone in Bed-Stuy, wider stairs for Jamie's skateboard stunts, a garden where Luna chases squirrels. Ryan's Rebels Redemption docuseries streams on Netflix. Raw footage of our saga drawing DMs from kids worldwide. Your story saved me. Fatherhood's evolved us beyond recognition. Jamie's out now, non-binary. Pronouns they slash them, coming out at 12 with a shrug and Ryan's guitar as prop. Like you and Dad, they said, and we hugged it out. Tears and tacos, vowing the openness we clawed for. Ryan mentors at a youth center. His scars badges for teens dodging Joseph's ilk. I keynote conferences. From audit to ally my TEDx hook. Preaching corporate closets cost. Conflicts persist. Human as heartbeat. Ryan's itch for a world tour clashing my book deadline, memoir in works. Risk notes. Jamie's teen rebellion echoing Ryan's. Graffiti phases testing our consequences with compassion mantra. But we've rituals. Sunday suppers with Kai's crew. Fire escape jams where old tunes summon young fire. One crisp fall eve. Echoes the first scream. Ryan's latest single blares from the studio. A ballad for Jamie. Hallway kid. Weaving our origins into theirs. I lean in the doorway, watching him hunch over the board, brow furrowed in genius. He spots me, grins that sinner's smile. Come here, muse, across, arms wrapping from behind, chin on his shoulder. Play it for me, he does, voice weaving magic, and as the final note fades, he turns, kisses me slow, decades distilled in touch. Still worth the risk? He murmurs, hazel eyes gold-flecked with memory. Every damn day, I reply, and mean it. In this American odyssey, Brooklyn grit to national glow, we've learned love's not plot points, but persistence. Conflicts confronted, betrayals buried, emotions the engine. Humanistic to the core. Our tale whispers, take the leap. The man across the hall might just rewrite your stars. Fade to black, but not end, life's encore awaits.